Hello, and welcome to this December 2024 edition of Monroeville at your service. I'm your Municipal Manager, Alex Graziani, coming to you from the Monroeville Municipal Building. If you've been watching our show, you might notice our setup is a little different today. That's because of this month's guest and a unique conversation that awaits. Joining me in studio today is our Director of Technology, Tina Mueller. Hi, Tina.
Hi, Alex.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
So before we get started, I just want to introduce you to the audience. Talk about how long have you been here in Monroeville?
I've lived in Monroeville for all my life. I went to Gateway Senior High School and the whole bit. But I've worked at the municipality for about 20 years, a little over 20 years.
Before you came to the municipality, where were you working?
I actually, after I graduated college, I worked in the private industry for quite some time. I worked at R.J. Lee Group, I worked for the Children's Hospital, worked at a couple other places, and then I came here.
And after Gateway, you didn't go far for college, did you?
I didn't. I went to Carnegie Mellon.
Which I'm so impressed of, because like your degree was in something...
Applied mathematics with a computer science track.
Yeah, that's even like hard to describe what it is, but it sounds really smart, and I know that you are. Because as a Director of Technology, you're like involved and overseeing and a part of all of our technology. So help the audience understand what that entails.
Well, it's basically everything most of the things that you plug in. Computers, printers, phones, which is now desk phones and cell phones, just about some of the equipment that we have, all the software that we have. It's a lot.
Yeah, and when you onboarded here, we were using emails and different kinds of things, but we were still heavily using faxes. Probably a lot of typewriters were still in different offices.
Yes, there were.
And still being used. And
might be one or two left.
Yeah, I don't know how to use one. It's like one of my claims of fame as a professional. I've never used a typewriter at all within a work setting. Wouldn't know what to do with it. But you were here when a lot of that transition really happened, and now we're to the point where we're doing things on the cloud, and cybersecurity is very much in the news all the time. How do you help us stay protected, at least like on cybersecurity?
Well, of course, we have software packages and different various hardware that didn't exist when I first got here. You have to keep patching everything. You have to keep up on things all the time.
Yeah, and it's so worth it. It isn't a week goes by that you don't see in the corporate sector big companies having data breaches and the concerns that all of us have about is our data being taken advantage of. And so we're really glad to have you here. And you have a team, right?
We do.
So there's 3 of you all together who provide support services for all of us, all 150 municipal employees, or 60 or so.
That's true.
Yeah, so thank you. And again, back to what we're doing here and why we have this standing setup and this view today. And it is because this is the time of year, if you're like me, you got a couple things on mind. One of them is having fun. And Tina's like our queen of fun. She is one of those people that when we have municipal staff get-togethers, she just makes everybody happy and relaxed, and we have a good time. But it's also the time of year, beyond fun, candy. And it's a time of year where, our sweet tooth for me is about as long as my arm, and I'm just wanting candy all the time, and especially these guys. So what do we have here today?
Well, I know that your favorite is Reese's Cups. So,
am I that obvious? Is it pretty pathetic?
All the candy in everybody's dish that has Reese's seems to be gone.
Yes.
But this is everybody's a big fan of Reese's Cups, really, anybody that isn't allergic to peanuts. And this time of year, we have a number of types of peanut butter cups, not just the normal kind, but the pumpkins and the trees and things like that. And we actually were having a conversation one day.
Yeah, so this is one of my favorite conversations because I really like the holiday Reese's particularly, and over the years I've always wondered, why, and it seems like to me the obvious reason why is the ratio of peanut butter to chocolate. It's a little different in the holiday versions than the cup. So for example, we got the tree over here. These ones will likely have more peanut butter than the cup will. But we have all different kinds, and I can't wait. It's how hard this is for me not to be eating this and just grabbing it and feeding my face. But yeah, so I get really excited about that because I'm like, we ought to create YouTube videos where we dissect them and carve them out. But of course, we found that some people had already done a little bit of that.
Yeah, we took some of the research that was out there, did a little bit of our own and made a chart. It was just for fun. But then again, we like that. We did prove, in fact, that we think we like the ones that have a better peanut butter to chocolate
According
ratio.
to each his own. There's probably some people who want more of the chocolate and less of the peanut butter, but why? The peanut butter's so good.
That's true, but I was most interested at the fact that that was a theory of ours. And we weren't sure it was 100% true, but then we started to prove it. And the way we did,
By data.
by data.
Yeah. So what's really neat, at least for the private sector, is that they're able to use data to help drive decisions. And of course, the bottom line, as you hear, is the most important data, whether they're making profit or not. So for example, Reese's might come out with a certain type of holiday shape that doesn't sell as well as another type. And they get instant feedback from the market, profit, loss, of whether they're successful or not. So data is really important in the private sector, and all of us have experienced like customer surveys and other kinds of things that is trying to be mined from customers, data that's being mined from customers so that the private sector can get cues. But again, for them, to me, it's a lot more linear and straightforward. You're either successfully making a profit and sales are high, or the market doesn't like your product and sales are low, and you've got to change products, do differently. Like, for example, they might have a white chocolate one that maybe doesn't sell as well as others. And researching on this topic of Reese's, I had to eat along the way.
Naturally.
I found that some of them only lasted for a season or two, and they never came back again.
That's right.
And others, like the pumpkin, the tree, the egg at Easter, seem to be fan favorites that never leave.
That's true. That's because they tasted the best.
So while it's easy on the private side, it's less easy for us. So for us in the local government arena or in government, we need to know, or we got to know, or how do we know if we're doing well, and what does well look like? We don't have that profit, sales volume, customer satisfaction by coming back to the store information or data. But what data do we have, and what should we be measuring to know whether we're successful or not? And that's why you're so important. Not only are you the director of technology, but you're a data gal. And for me, we want to figure out ways to get the data to see whether we're successful. So how are we doing that?
Well, right now, we're trying to use some of the software that we already have and to get information out of it. For example, we have a parks software that records every time somebody signs up for a class, the kids that sign up for sports programs and swimming and things like that, and also our day camps over the summer. And we're hoping to take some of that data. We've started a little bit to see, when people sign up, whether we can get any demographic data from the things that sign up, what ages prefer certain types of programs. And we want to give the residents more of what they want.
Exactly. So that one is very kind of like the private sector, as it's giving us feedback on usage. Other data things, we didn't really mention it, but you mentioned the way technology has changed and how things are under your responsibility when they plug in. But like voice over IP phone systems, those are giving us, I think, a little bit richer data to understand kind of how well maybe we're doing and how quickly we pick up phones and how long it takes for us to do certain things in the data that comes to us that way.
That's true, although we haven't studied that one quite so much.
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? So it's one thing to know that the data exists. It's a whole nother thing to decide whether you take resources to use the data and what is it you're trying to get out of it. So for example, the length it may take a plow route driver to get through their route on a level 1 storm. A level 1 winter event might be only that which requires salting the roads. A level 2 might involve the plow being used. So each of those would be a little bit differently. And what kind of technology could we use maybe to know that information?
Well, we have, a lot of that is actually just manual, but we do have some software that we could probably take some of that out.
Yeah, we have the vehicles, for example, have GPS units, just like you do with your personal automobile that you wonder how does it know where it's at. GPS, the global positioning system, is embedded into our trucks, so we kind of can know where they're out and how long it would take them, for example, to do a route. But like 911 calls, we have data on how long and how many, and then response times, for police. Sure. We also have beyond the phones, a 311 system or a see-click fix system. So what's
do.
see-click fix?
See-click fix is a software package that we have where the residents can actually report problems. They can report potholes, they can report other problems that they see in the community, things that they'd like us to address.
And what we're hoping to implement maybe in 2025 is when you report a problem, you'll get a notification that that problem has been received. And then when the problem has been addressed, cleared, fixed, or moved to another, let's say, government, for example, might be a county road where the issue is, and it's not our responsibility to fix that county problem, you as a resident submitting the problem will get feedback on that outcome. Those can be measured as well, right? So we might set a benchmark or goal that every problem that comes in the municipality, the ones that we can address within a week, for example, or 48 hours, get some sort of address, whether, maybe within so many hours we're telling you we've got it, and then within a week or so we're clearing it. May have been filling the pothole or fixing the catch basin or dealing with the broken limb that's hanging over the side of the road, or we may tell you, no, that's a county road and you need to go back to the county.
Correct.
But what's really important for us though is trying to figure out what the private sector gets more natively, which is sales equals success and customer satisfaction. We've got to go a step beyond by not only the data and may have to be more creative. For example, sending out resident surveys to determine levels of performance and the satisfaction our residents have with our work.
Yeah, that's one of the things we'd really like to do in 2025.
Yes, and we want to do that externally to the public, but we want to do it internally as well with staff. So one of the things we need to do is figure out what data we need to drive our decisions. What's most important, because we have limited resources. Our challenge this year as we roll up our sleeves is to just narrow in on those most important data sets. And some of that may be having to spend some money to do the survey to the residents or invest in some technology or staff effort to extract from the technology the right kind of data.
Correct.
Yeah, and so I got to eat one of these. This is really hard. So when I think about, again, why Reese's Cups? Well, because we want to get data-driven decisions. In the private sector, the more people do what I just did and buy the more of these, the more Reese's knows they've got a hit. In the public sector, it's not so easy. And as often we hear in government, you ought to be more like a business. We're trying to here in Monroeville to be more like a business by determining what data we need to drive the decisions that will lead to knowledge of how well our performance is and how well our performance is meeting expectations and our taxpayer resident needs. Tina, you're a great sport. And I'm so excited because while we're going to be off camera, I'm going to be doing more of this and eating more of these, and I'll have like a sugar coma or something. It's not going to be good, but I'm happy. And that's what it is, right? This time of year, it's about friends and family. It's about festivities. It's about candy. And I really thank you for being a good sport and coming on today and talking a little bit about data-driven decision-making. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
We often showcase the services Monroeville provides on this show. On the way next, we'll feature another one. An in-depth look at the Monroeville Animal Shelter is just ahead. Plus, I'll have this month's Manager's Minute on planning for the new year.